People aren't always what they seem to be. That is one lesson my parents taught me, and I bet some of you have heard that statement before. It simply means you probably shouldn't judge a person too quickly, especially by how they look, because looks can be deceiving. Welcome back to the Crime Lab channel. In today's video, we will be looking at the story of Morgan Huxley, the baby-faced killer. Do not be deceived by the term baby-faced. That doesn't change the fact that this person is still a killer. He is just a pretty one. But why would a man so good and innocent looking decide to murder Morgan Huxley? Beats me, but let's go through the story together to find out more. Morgan Huxley is a 31-year-old businessman from Sydney, Australia. He was murdered on September 8, 2013, but I am pretty sure he wasn't expecting to die so soon. The cause of his death was homicide by stabbing, and the perpetrator of this crime was a man with a baby face called Daniel Kelsall. But there is more to the story than this, and we will be going into that immediately. Morgan Huxley was a man described as popular with everyone, including women, by his friends. He was a very likable person, so it was a shocker when he was found dying on the bedroom floor of his rented Watson Sink unit in the early hours of Sunday morning, as he had suffered 28 stab and slash wounds. As soon as he was found, he was rushed to hospital but couldn't be revived. The police were said to be looking closely at the possibility of Morgan's killer being a bitter female lover who attacked him in a wild and frenzied way. However, Morgan's close friends said he wasn't the sort of person who made enemies. One of his friends, Steve McDonald's, said he was an outgoing, social, confident guy. He didn't upset anyone. He embraced people. A former colleague, Chris Dunn, said Morgan was a true gentleman. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who didn't like Morgs. Morgan Huxley was last seen leaving the Oaks Hotel on Military RD, Neutral Bay, at 1:30 a.m. after a few drinks on his own. He was still in the blue t-shirt and cargo shorts he wore to his friend Chris Maroney's engagement party in Lane Cove the evening before. He was barefoot and unaware of the stranger standing across the road. Outside the Curry Palace, an Indian takeaway waiting and watching him. This stranger happened to be a skinny 20-year-old with curly ginger hair and glasses, who stood behind Morgan in the Easy Mart as he tried to withdraw some cash from an ATM only 20 minutes earlier. He kept watching Morgan cross the road barefoot and even gave Morgan the nickname, No Shoes. The young stranger's name is Daniel, but everyone calls him by his middle name, Jack. Daniel Kelsall is what most people would describe as a typical nerd, as he looked docile and owlish. But inside, he was a seething mass of cold anger which, given the wrong twist of circumstance, can change into something utterly malicious. He had finished his shift washing dishes for a 21st birthday party at the cooking school opposite the Oaks, but he wasn't ready to go home, not now that he's seen Morgan. Reports say that Kelsall's face might seem familiar to Morgan, as he often buys his coffees from the cafe in front of the Sydney Cooking School, where Kelsall works washing dishes. He also goes to a clutch of local takeaway stores close to the Oaks Hotel that Kelsall frequents, such as the Curry Palace, the Crust Pizza, and his favorite, the Noodle Star. Regardless, I doubt he took note of Kelsall's face. Around 1:28 a.m., Morgan begins his journey back to his apartment, with Kelsall still watching him. Some would believe that it was at this point that his urge to stab a random stranger kicked in. It didn't help that Morgan had had quite a few drinks and his defenses were down even though he had a 183-centimeter, 90-kilogram frame. He begins his walk alone along Military Road, one of the busiest arterial roads on the lower North Shore, with Kelsall, who was sober and alert, breaking into a quick walk behind him. Kelsall had a blue Phillips Fox bag on his right shoulder containing UDO. trading cards, a jacket, a chef's apron, and a large Japanese steel kitchen knife. Morgan reaches the lights and commences to cross, followed by Kelsall only moments later. The pair move out of sight of the 7 CCTV cameras peering down from the Oaks and other shops. It seems this wasn't the first time that Kelsall had stalked Morgan to his home, as he had done this 6 months earlier. Kelsall's inner fury was about to burst as he spent the next 20 minutes or so pacing outside Morgan's unit. On the other hand, Morgan makes his way to the room and climbs the stairs to his bedroom. After opening a window, he collapses on the double bed, falling deeply asleep, still in his clothes. His flatmate Jean Redmond, a 24-year-old Irish physiotherapist, gets up to close her bedroom door and inserts her earplugs, drifting off to sleep. She was waiting for her boyfriend Urton Ukar, who spends a couple of nights a week at the apartment, to arrive from his late shift at a kebab shop in Auburn. Jean, a light sleeper, is awoken about 15 minutes later by 2 knocks on the door downstairs. After checking her iPhone clock, she rolls over, imagining it's a friend of Morgan's, as her boyfriend has a key and isn't due for another hour. Kelsall knocks the second time, much more loudly, and tries the door handle, perhaps with his shirt sleeve covering his hand. The door opens, as it had either been accidentally left unlocked or not appropriately secured. Kelsall makes his way up the stairs to the bedrooms, where he can hear a man's loud snores from within. He puts his left hand on the door, leaving fingerprints as he pushes it open and sees Morgan sleeping. Kelsall jumps on the bed and gropes him, waking him up. Morgan lashes about in the dark, but Kelsall plunges the knife into his neck and back. As he desperately fights back, Morgan sustains deep wounds to his upper arms, shoulders, and right hand, but the stabs keep raining down. 28 in all, his left and right carotid arteries severing with 3-centimeter deep gashes. One strike is so fierce the tip of the knife breaks, lodging in Morgan's skull. His anguished screams fall silent. He's unable to let out even a word because he's choking on his own blood. Kelsall takes Morgan's phone and closes the front door behind him as he flees the scene. Morgan drags himself off the bed while gasping for air and getting to his feet before slumping into the doorway and slipping unconscious. Being a light sleeper, Jean heard the gargling noises coming from Morgan's room and found him bleeding to death. She calls her boyfriend and the emergency line, and by the time the police arrive at about 3:15 a.m., 3 ambulances are on the scene and Morgan is stretchered into ICU ambulance. 946 hours of CCTV footage from Military Road were looked through, hoping it might reveal any suspicious activity around that time. 1 month later, Daniel Kelsall was arrested and charged with murder and a stealing offense after a high-profile investigation. It took the jury just under 3 hours to find Kelsall guilty of indecently assaulting and murdering Morgan, as his DNA had been found on Morgan's genitals and a single print matching his ring finger was on his bedroom door. Morgan's blood was also found on Kelsall's shoulder bag, which he had tried to clean in an amateurish attempt. But the key to all these evidences was Kelsall's confessions in 2012, stating that he had intrusive thoughts about killing a random with a knife. During his sentences, Kelsall stared straight ahead and made no expression as Justice Robert Allen Holmey sentenced him to a maximum term of 40 years with a non-parole period of 30 years, saying, "This is a chilling case of murder." Justice Holmey also said, whether the offender killed for the thrill of it, or whether it was as a result of fantasy or obsession, I am unable to say. It was entirely senseless and needless. It must have been the doing of a very disturbed mind. Why he did it, only Kelsall knows. However, the forensic psychologist who interviewed Daniel Kelsall for police believes that he would kill again. Dr. Susan Pullman described him as one of the most chilling murderers she had come across, adding the cold and calculated attack was planned out, and he was just waiting for his moment to strike. She said he was from a middle-class family from Sydney's Lower North Shore. He'd been given all the opportunities, and here he was throwing it all away for a thrill kill. That's why I found it very chilling. Dr. Pullman noted he did not have a background of violence, drugs, or alcohol abuse, or any mental illness. With all the evidence, It seemed like Kelsall only killed Morgan Huxley for the thrill of it and no other reason whatsoever. Thank you for watching this video. Hit us up in the comment section and give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos.